Good day to you. My name is Megan, and in this video, I'll be presenting about my entrepreneurial reflection for this unit, BUS10015, with two sections paired with a conclusion at the end. The first section, Sprint Reflections. Throughout the sprints, Pink Time and Thinking Type quizzes, team interviews, brainstorming and brainwriting, assumption testing, effectuation mapping, and ethical concepts, one thing that remained constant with the in-class activities were that they all pushed us to interact and engage with our teammates. Each session, I was faced with the challenge of making decisions on the way to approach upon my groupmates, to be given a set of the same instructions, but every member had a different goal and standard in mind. I found myself always naturally opting for a democratic approach. Although I was not group leader, I didn't mind voicing out what needed to be done and acting upon it. Although I encouraged participation and made sure everyone's voice was heard, I would never push them to work more than what they weren't comfortable with, which meant that I had to shoulder more work than my other groupmates behind the scenes, understandingly, leaving me a bit bitter and unknowingly looking past their potential contribution. Later in the weeks, I never expected them to have noticed my efforts and started to willingly contribute, albeit not being fluent in English or familiar with the course material. This was seen particularly in Sprint 5 and 4 in assumption testing and effectuation mapping. I always thought that being an entrepreneur was meant to shoulder responsibility alone, and a foreign entity was meant to be treated as opportunity for collaboration. But it opened my eyes that even if a member was not skilled, you could still depend on them. And a team, albeit bringing along a heavier burden, also meant there to be more hands to lift it together. So that to me felt like a warmer form of creativity, unexpectedly gained throughout the process, breaking my personal, previously stigmatized impressions of teamwork. My personal takeaway from this is that the human elements of working in a team surpasses norms and stigmas, which makes adaptation, innovation, and most importantly, trust essential for a ship to sail. For task 2, to review feedback, the focus for this section will be on a peer review of my Pink Time project progress taking place mid-semester. It was said that my plans and input was very futuristic and had interesting, insightful clarity and ultimately had a very clear direction. But although my head and eyes were clear on the path, my body had not taken a single step. I had not started nor learned anything about my chosen Pink Time when it was already week 6. Now that it nears the semester end, looking back, I still have not moved an inch of progress from where I was. My progress was and still is 0. This realization felt like a stab from my past self. After self-reflecting on the whys and whats, I found that I was just not one to multitask. I found myself always prioritizing work and productivity first and putting off passion. In the end, I may be satisfied with my academic achievement, but quite disappointed in my passion progress. I did not allocate time for personal creativity and only tunnel vision on responsibilities. This may be encouraged by most, but I highly dislike this mindset. It feels like I've wasted time wishing more than actually doing. The influence this feedback had on me was guilt towards myself. If I were to be an entrepreneur, I would have been tangled up by miscellaneous tasks in an illusion of progressing a vision that I had already lost sight on. And now I hope to change in the ways I work in not just this, but every subject to avoid this cycle in the future. To conclude, these sprint reflections made me realize that entrepreneurship means having an allowance of mind to depend on your team, to be able to itself will be applying creativity in the first place, to make space for adaptability. When there is room, only will innovation flow naturally within a team. Feedback analysis was a strict reminder to myself that entrepreneurship requires a diligence of values as to why you had that vision in the first place, and not to get lost in present struggles or missions in front of you. What is work when it has lost meaning? The worker would not be any different from a robot, and this would fail to welcome creativity and fail as an entrepreneur. This marks the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.